Markets are starting to get into a position where we may see a break, whether it's up or down. I think the key here is going to be looking at some of the indicators that could be flowing into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also some of the key altcoins. So today we'll be breaking it down on charts. You guys don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to the Tech Path. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Tangem. Tangem is one of the best self-custody solutions out there, and it's one that I think everybody can use. It's very easy to use. Just visit tangem.com, get the card. That way you've got some backups. You go to the 3-card set. It's the best way to start. But the cool thing is the way it works with the app itself. Super secure and very easy to use. So when you get started in self-custody, sometimes it can be a little bit overbearing. So this is the solution to try. Hit that little Get Tangem button, and you'll get into the 3-card set. Use our discount code, and it does help the channel, so thanks for that. Let's go over to a couple of topics, but I do want to bring in our special guest today, and of course, that is Mr. Tim Warren from Investing Bros. How are you, Tim?
Doing good, Paul. Great to be back here again. Excited to break down the charts with you.
Yeah, we're going to look at a few things today. Obviously, there's some things happening with Bitcoin. U.S. government now pressuring Bitcoin with potential a little bit of sale, much like Germany, much like Mt. Gox. We've seen this, this act before. And when you look at Bitcoin in general, a couple of points that they make in the article here right now is about almost 20,000 Bitcoin were sent to their interim address 3 weeks ago. That was on the Silk Road. Recent movements showed the government now may have placed 10,000 Bitcoin on exchanges. But if that does happen, we could see a little bit of a flash crash. Suspicions of selling the coins come from a usual way that the U.S. Marshal Service has handled the confiscated coins. So they are watching some of these wallets in terms of movement. Do you think this has any major bearing on how Bitcoin responds? Because right now it's sub 60, but we haven't seen that close to $50,000 range in some time. What are your thoughts right now in terms of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think something that people need to make sure they understand is there's a big difference between what the U.S. government has to do and what Germany had to do. That was a big ordeal with Germany, where it came out that it wasn't Germany choosing to sell Bitcoin because they wanted to, even though at this point might have been a good decision. Ultimately, they had a law or regulation that said they had to sell after a certain period of time. Yeah. That is not the case with the U.S. government. I'm going to be on the side of the tinfoil hat here, Paul, and say what a coincidence. What a coincidence that as the stock market is climbing after favorable inflation news numbers and also favorable job numbers that should bring an ease to the Fed rates. We're probably going to get a rate cut in September, but crypto's falling in terms of manipulative moves so that whales can buy lower. What's the coincidence right here with the news coming out or the rumor? Uh-oh, guys, look, America is moving some coins around. Are they selling? Let's just spread this FUD out there for a coincidence so that retail freaks out. All the while, if you continue to watch what Wall Street's doing, if you continue to watch what BlackRock's doing, if you continue to watch what all these large whales and institutions are doing, they're using this as an opportunity to buy up the dip. I think this is hey, look over here so we can buy all the Bitcoin and maybe even you capitulate to us so we can buy more supply. I'm not buying the rumors. There's no evidence at this point they're actually going to sell. And I'll say this is my last thing here. Recently, of course, everyone is very concerned about what the presidential election is going to look like. Of course, historically, Biden's camp was not pro-crypto. Kamala's a part of that camp, but she's trying to change that perspective. Whether she's going to be successful or not, it's a different question. But if the U.S. government, which Biden is still president, if he is secretly selling Bitcoin, he's pulling the legs out from under Kamala if she's trying to gain any crypto support. So that doesn't even logically make sense.
Well, it's politics, so you never know how that how that could play out. You're not
good counterpoint.
Which side that one party is playing versus the other, because I think a lot of people were still questioning how that might end up in as to who's going to be the Democratic nominee. Tim, do you think they're going to cut? Do you think you'll see a cut coming out of Chair Powell?
I absolutely do. I think they're going to cut. I think there's one of this knowledge. Like, I think even Jerome Powell has to understand reality, but he's going to get away with saying, I'm a good chairman. Look at how I was able to create a soft landing and get us back to cutting rates. I mean, Paul, on the data point, we're down to 2.9, the lowest we've been since March of 2021. Yep. He's going to get to go in the history books, and they're going to write it in a way that makes him look like he was an amazing chairman of the Fed. He wants to keep that. If he doesn't cut rates, that A is going to be bad for the administration I think he's more aligned with, and that is the Kamala and Biden administration. That looks bad for them. So he's incentivized on that front to do it. But it also looks bad on him because if he's wrong and he doesn't cut rates, and then we do see legitimate unemployment jump up, even on the data side, that will make him go down to history as the guy who waited too long to cut rates. He doesn't want to be that guy. That being said, he's going to do it from a stance of confidence. With only 25 points, 50 points would look scared, and that would be fears of a recession. 25 is hey guys, we won. Now we can start cutting rates because we solved inflation.
Yeah, I think the scare for a lot, and you've seen some analysts kind of point to this, is that right now, even though, to your point, we see kind of reality versus what the data is pointing in, is that if he does pause, because there's two options here. If he cuts and we end up seeing another inflation bump right before the election, that could be catastrophic for the Democrats because it means inflation's still climbing and we're cutting rates. What a terrible timing.
Possibly.
If he goes a little bit softer and says, all right, we're just going to pause one more month and we're going to wait until the next FOMC to drop the rates, that may end up being a little bit softer. But to your point is that it is a situation right now where it's kind of a catch-22 for Chair Powell. All right, so I want to go over to a clip real quick of Tom Lee because he's looking at this. He's an analyst that's been on many times. Most of the time, he's very bullish, and he has an interesting take on this. I want to play this for you.
Last week, was it difficult to keep your bearings in the midst of that crazy price action?
Without question, because the market had been whipsawed by data point to data point, as you guys were recapping. The jobs report raised recession fears, big risk off. Then we got inflation this week, which was pretty tame, and I think markets suddenly went back to thinking about liquidity coming into markets. I think that the data dependence of the markets and the Fed is very tough for investors. And I think if you look ahead, I'd say we always know the summer is tough. Summer probably runs through October, but I don't think that anything's changed into year end, which should look pretty good.
But are you lower conviction now than you were 2 weeks ago?
No change in our conviction, but it is just recognizing August historically is a tough month for markets. I mean, one thing that maybe investors can be encouraged by is since 1928, the most common month for the summer low is August, and the most common week is the first week of August. So I think maybe the worst is behind us, but it doesn't mean we're straight up from here.
I want to jump into the chart real quick on Bitcoin. Based on what Tom Lee had to say, where do you see Bitcoin going? Let's say year end right now, Tim. What are you looking at?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's really hard to use the chart to say where we should be year end in terms of doing any type of technical analysis. That's going to be kind of hard to go there. I've been on record as saying I didn't think that we would see a new all-time highs until the end of August or September. I made that call way back in March, told our listeners, do not be surprised. We've done this before. I think we're going to do it again where we move sideways or down into the halving and then continue for a couple more months. Why? Because everyone is so bullish about the Bitcoin halving, and it is a long-term, very bullish thing that affects the supply and demand. But when do we ever see things that are highly anticipated go as planned? There's usually some form of a fake out that causes people to second guess their original opinion, even though it was accurate. And that is that we're going to be moving up into the right. And I had that pinned for the end of August, early September. I'll share my screen here. There's a couple levels I think that could be interesting. Let me go right there. Boom. There you guys should have it. A couple levels that should be interesting. But my counterpart, my co-host on my show makes a very interesting point. So we're in this falling, broadening wedge kind of deal. It's almost like a channel, but it's technically broadening out a little bit. Some of the things that are keeping us down right now, Paul, is election concern when it comes to Kamala versus Donald Trump. Clearly the markets, when we thought Donald Trump was a shoo-in, started to rally. And then as Kamala started to pick up more steam, we fall into the downside. I think that there's a long time between now and the election season. I think that polling system is going to flip-flop back and forth and back and forth. But we might be looking for new all-time highs when we get some sort of feeling either A, at first, that it looks like Donald Trump is going to win. That seems to be more bullish for the markets at the moment. That's the way people are anticipating it. Or Maybe we have to wait all the way until election season in November to hit new all-time highs. Because even if Kamala were to win president, I still see Bitcoin going up and to the right. I don't think that that's going to affect it. We're still going to see new all-time highs. So with that being said, one of the things I'm watching right now, chart-wise, structurally, can we get back above 70,000? A, just to break this descending level of resistance, and then B, can we set a new all-time high? And there's a possibility we might be waiting on some news, and that would be a comfortability that Donald Trump would be the next president. He's seen as the more crypto-friendly and market-friendly president who should pump the stocks. Of course, there's concern with Kamala. That being said, when we talk about end of year, I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan of the concept of 100K before the end of the year. This would correspond kind of with some movements we've seen previously. I got to get back to the log chart. We were looking at linear here, and I know we're going to take a look at that with Ethereum here in a little bit. But I'm still a fan of these big runs that happen in December during the bull market. Look at this move in September 2020 into December, wrestling back with former all-time high. Guess what? In this case, I don't think, because we've already set a new all-time high, I don't think that this line wrestles with a former all-time high. I think it wrestles with a psychological level of resistance. I think that level could be, if I were to use my pen right here, a move up to a level that crypto or Bitcoin holders have been waiting for a long time. We get to December and we're wrestling with 100K, maybe coming in here, maybe even see a correction back down to 80, a nice 20% correction. And then the bull market really gets going even more explosively. And I went way too high. I don't think Bitcoin's going to 400K, but I think we have a bigger leg in 2025. But don't be surprised during Bitcoin season as we see Bitcoin dominance continuing to climb up here, still going towards our 60%. I think 100K for Bitcoin is still on the table. I think late December, early January, altcoins start to run behind it. That's at the moment what I'm still planning on. And unless we see something majorly change in the news and something kind of bearish come in, I'm going to hold to my prediction that 100K, six figures is possible by the end of the year. I
like it. Okay, Tim the Bull on this.
Yes.
So in a good position right now. Let's talk about Ethereum. I want to go to this story. Ethereum's price could crash significantly, according to this Peter Brandt. He hits on a few points within this. Right now, I'll zoom in on this for you, kind of see his position. First, he's suggesting a potential exit if Ethereum exceeds 2,900. And then he's looking also at a second indicator that we could see a decline down to 1,650. So this is based on a pattern that he's identified for Ethereum. When you look at the Ethereum chart right now, are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I want to start off by saying Peter Brandt is one of the more instrumental people in my development as a technical analyst. I remember being a young analyst, watching a lot of what he did, how he read charts. I'm not going to say I've copied him 100%. I do things a lot differently than he does, but I respect his technical analysis very heavily. And something that people should know about Peter Brandt, he actually just put a tweet out 2 weeks ago where he said, I love this quote he said, when doing technical analysis, it's not so much about reading all of the probabilities, it's about understanding the possibilities. So what does that communicate? I don't even know if Peter Brandt himself is convicted about that prediction he made, but what he's wanting people to be aware of is there's a possibility of $1,600 Ethereum once again. And I'm going to show you guys what it is. It's this channel that we're in right now, this yellow box. Even though we went a little higher than it in March, effectively, we've had two good rejections here around $3,900. We've had several levels of support down here at $2,800. Well, the technical analysis he's using is that traditionally, when you set a channel like this and you get a bearish breakout, and we're on the linear chart for this, so if anyone's doing TA at home, they're wondering how I'm getting these levels, it's linear chart. We're looking at a breakout prediction. I have 1692. I don't know if his said 1650 or 16 something.
It was 1692.
But effectively, this is what he's looking at. This is his possibility of saying, guys, because we broke bearishly out of this formation, we could come to the downside. But I think it's good for everyone to know that I was telling Paul before we were recording this video, this same formation, there was a post he put out sometime back in July. I don't remember the exact date, but he actually did the exact opposite. And he said, hey guys, here's a formation that could break to the upside. And he gave a $5,100 prediction to the upside for Ethereum. So ultimately, this news headline is put out there to spread FUD. I don't think it's Peter Brandt saying, hey guys, flash this to everyone so everyone's scared. I think someone who wants to sell clicks and sell views, said, oh my gosh, Peter Brandt, expert trader, makes a chart saying 1600. Let's print that. And in reality, Peter Brandt's not making a prediction. He's saying, hey guys, be aware that there's a possibility we could move back to 1600.
Right now, you've got a couple of tokens that you just did a video on, and it's always fun to kind of check these, but this is on Cardano, Polkadot, and MATIC. All right, so many people looking at these, yes, claiming, oh, well, those chains are dead, that project's not there, blah, blah, blah. Why are you jumping into these? Because I think these are somewhat bullish right now in your position. Give me just a quick narrative on what that video was.
Yeah, so first of all, I don't think it's a secret. Even if you like these coins or hold them, everyone has heard the expression dead coins. They've heard dinosaur coins. They've heard, what's the other expression that's used for these coins? It's the, I remember the expression. It's pretty much calling them old. I don't remember the expression, but pretty much saying that they've been around the block before. You should only be investing in new assets. You should not be investing in anything that had a big bull market back in 2021. In which case, I'd ask people, what about the bull run of Solana and Ethereum? I think people are extremely bullish on. I mean, since these highs, let's start off with Cardano. Since the high that we had back here in March, the price of Cardano has fallen. It fell in this wick 65% to the downside. Let me make a point, though. Other coins, newer coins that people absolutely love. Let's take a look at like Ondo, for example. The chart doesn't look as bearish, but how far back has Ondo pulled? Oh, would you look at that? It actually pulled back 65%. If you were to take a look at other big coins, I mean, even Caspa, if you come back, it had a more bullish pullback here more recently, or bullish rally here recently. But let's go back to the fall from February. We had a nice little, 46% pullback there. We had a nice, and so it's not as aggressive, but we have a nice 40-something% pullback here. Even newer coins have these larger pullbacks. So just because Cardano and then Polkadot and then MATIC are having these major pullbacks and prices are lower than they've actually been in a very long time, sometimes some of them even rivaling some bear market lows from years ago, my overarching point is that you still want to chase fundamentals. And my overarching point from a technical analysis standpoint, take a look at the formations that we are in right now. These are what we call falling wedge patterns and historically are extremely bullish. All three of them I'm flipping through are almost an identical looking patterns that usually, more often not, similar to like what happened with MATIC here back in October of 2023, these break to the upside. But even more so, the opportunity, Paul. Yes, price is down. Yes, most Cardano holders are probably sitting in a loss or very little profit. Same for DOT, same for MATIC. But the opportunity on these low prices is amazing. And you want to talk about dead altcoins. Well, just because a coin is drastically down from all-time high, let's take a look at the history of Cardano just for a second. And this is the point I'm making in my video. If you had been back here in December of 2019, you probably also would have thought that Cardano was dead. Take a look at how similar these price movements of bear markets look when it came back down. And of course, it crashed lower for COVID. But even if COVID hadn't happened, look at the explosion in Cardano's price action. It was the hottest 2021 coin. And while I'm not predicting a repeat of that, I'm not predicting Cardano's going to 70x or anything like that. I think it hits new all-time highs, and I think that this is an opportunity for anyone who doesn't think emotionally but looks for opportunity to get involved in a coin. All three of these are drastically low. They're showing bullish formations. They have bullish fundamentals. I think that the rewards way outweigh the risks. That's why I think these are smart investments at the moment.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of points that I want to hit on. This is just looking at pure market volume, and I wanted your opinion. Is Avalanche, because this is one that has been a slow token to move here recently. But when you look at its history back in 2021, again, volume and price matching up, but now volume starting to climb. We saw a little bit of sideways action here, but at least the trend is still climbing high. Are we maybe in a position with Avalanche as an opportunity? When you look at your chart, do you see it in a similar way that you look at Polkadot and Cardano?
Absolutely. So same thing, falling wedge pattern here with AVAX. AVAX, of course, a real world asset token. So fundamentally, I'm very big on this one. Look at it, though. I mean, despite all that volume and everything else, price-wise, look at how far it fell from these more recent highs. It actually fell 72%. Now, That's just what happens. And the point I want to make here is you compared Solana. You took a look at Solana right beforehand. I'm not going to poop on Solana. I think Solana's doing an amazing job. Solana's purpose is so that everyday person can build in Web3, and it's going to be something that has heavy use case. I don't think you're going to see AVAX, Cardano, MATIC, Polkadot. They're not going to pass the use case of Solana. I don't think they're going to pass the market cap. Solana, I have as my number 3 altcoin throughout the rest of the bull market, and nothing's going to change that in my personal opinion. But there's still opportunities over here. And when it comes to AVAX, again, from a chart perspective, we came back, went a little bit lower, but I highlighted here a couple of weeks ago this major level historically. Look at how many times this zone between $23 and $21 is used as support, resistance, 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 and once again, support and support once again. So this is a historically great level to, if you are in a bull market, to buy on it. If you're in a bear market, if you're going below it and you come back up to it, maybe look for a little take profit like you had back in here. But it's a significant level for AVAX. Once again, great opportunity. The fundamentals of this are amazing. I personally, again, I think it's too soon for people to compare altcoins to Solana. Solana's in a world of its own. Altcoin season does not start until later this year. This is a great coin with a lot of people wanting to invest in it, but it's not alt season. So it's not going to have any type of crazy run until the altcoins are ready to be unleashed, because Bitcoin's super high. People are taking profit, moving it over. But AVAX is going to have an extra special advantage in the fact that because of its real world asset play, institutions are going to want to make a massive move here on AVAX. So in the short term, when I'm looking at the charts, falling wedge pattern, this could give us a breakout back up to a level of resistance we had back here in May, somewhere in the range of $38 to $40 is what I'm watching. Long term, though, this is one easily sets new all-time highs. I think that I have a price prediction on my channel that says I think we're going to see somewhere between $400 to $600 for AVAX long term. Beautiful investment if I'm right. If I'm right about how high the market cap can get, we're talking about somewhere between almost a 20x to almost a 30x in possibility.
All right, so here's a question for you then. If you're holding Avalanche and Cardano to the end of the year, which one would you hold to the end of the year?
To the end of the year.
Yeah.
See, that's the reason why that's a hard question, Paul, is because, again, I don't think that alts really get anything special until next. I'll tell you this. Let's be very honest. I think AVAX has the brighter bull market this time.
Okay. All right.
I still hold Cardano, but yeah.
All right. I want to go to our last token today, and that is going to be talking about mobile token. This is the Helium Mobile. A couple of points, HIP 129 passed, so all the mobile hotspots now, they're enrolled in their carrier offload. This is basically just more technology that's going to enable Helium Mobile to accelerate in terms of user base, which is a big deal in terms of user base. You look at a couple of other points right here. This is just them kind of hitting on it again. The beta is now live. You can enable your hotspot to be part of the offload beta in the Builder app. So this is available now. Subscribers from several other carriers can connect to and transfer data through the Helium hotspots, which is the mesh network of the idea of what Helium Mobile is really all about. So this opens up a really big advancement for Helium and mobile as a token. When you look at mobile here recently, we've had some pretty good runs on it. Do you like this token as one to hold in the altcoin season, or do you feel like this is one that you'd stay away from?
So very volatile, I would assume. Let's just take a look. Even though it looks small, you're looking at about 80% of movement right in that very small level. Clearly, it's down from close to its creation. I don't think this is when it first got created, because this is Coinbase, but we're not talking about a coin that's like 2-3 years old. Right. It's a brand new token. So what I'm looking at the moment, in fact, let me look over here. Let's just take a look at all-time price action. All right, so it started out very low. We're not back down to lows that we had, and during the creation way back in, what is that, March or April of 2023. But it is down from these recent highs that we got earlier this year, which again, some people look at as saying it's a negative thing. I look at that and say, listen, that means possibility or opportunity is in play right here. There's not going to be a lot I can do with the daily chart here for a longer time frame. I am seeing there's a buy signal right now that's saying we should be coming back up to 0.002945. But lower time frames, let's see how they're kind of communicating to us. Looks really good. I like the 4-hour chart. This is not a terrible long for any of your traders, Paul. What I'm seeing here is there major support levels in play. A take profit for a short was hit perfectly. But on the oscillator side, we're about to get a major buy signal where our oscillator was very, very low, but the money flow extremely bearish at the moment. But that bright red, that is a expression of extra sellers. And when those extra sellers leave, it releases a pressure that oftentimes you see price action skyrocket back up, kind of similar to what we saw back here in August when we came down low, had those sellers in the space, had to drop a little lower, but then boom, big move back up to around 0.001. I think that's something that could happen again here. 4-hour chart looks kind of juicy for a long trade. As far as my long-term perspective, I because I've never looked at that coin and looked at charts before just now, I don't know if I have a top of the bull market. I've heard great things about it. I've heard that there's a lot of use case for it, that a lot of people love it. That's always a plus. But I'd have to look at tokenomics and understand what the supply rate and inflation rate looks like to get a better understanding of where I could say the price could get to.
Well, we're watching it very closely. Of course, we do a lot of tokens on this one, but if you guys want to check out Tim, which I suggest that you do, go over to his YouTube channel, which is Investing Bros with a Z, and check it out, and let's pump him up to 30K, and you're almost hitting 1,000 videos here. You're 2 videos away.
I didn't even know that until we just looked at that right now. Okay, well, I'll have that settled this weekend.
There you go, man. Knock them out. Anyway, Tim, always good having you on. Thanks so much for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right, so you guys, if you're part of our Diamond Circle, then you are a special part, and that is of our own, private community. And it's very cool because we drop additional content over there, podcasts, all sorts of things, as well as our own private chat group. You guys can join by just clicking the link down below. If you guys want to follow me on X, it's @PaulBaron. I'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.